Hey guys, welcome to a weekly edition of the Get Life podcast. We're not really used to that, so bear with us as we go through this journey together. Today I have with me Tyson.
Hello.
And I have Sam.
Hey.
Yeah, so you guys probably know who Tyson is. You may know who Sam is, maybe. I don't know. Sam, who are you? Tell us.
The elusive person. I mean, shameless plug, you can find me at earlygame.com. I do lots of voiceover and article stuff for gaming and esports. Yeah.
So, in summary, Sam is a professional, and we're not. So, we're going to be talking about Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal today. We're going to do this in a series, so you might see in the next couple of weeks episodes based around Persona. We're hopefully going to get some voice actors as well. Fingers crossed. I'm not going to say who, but we're looking into that. And before I get into the bulk of the discussion, I just want to thank our sponsors, Japan Crate, J-List, and Crunchyroll. In addition to that, I want to thank Atlas, specifically Atlas in the West and in the UK, and Sega and Deep Silver. And the reason that is because obviously they sent us review copies. So the big thanks to you guys. And yeah, I just want to know, really, because we're going to start off talking about the game. Royal recently came out. I just want to start off the conversation with really how we got into the Persona series. It's very interesting, more so with Sam. Obviously, everyone else knows how me and Tyson got into it because we did episodes on Kunai about the animation, Persona 4 the animation. So everyone kind of knows about that. I will really want to start off with Sam. How did you get involved in Persona? What was your first Persona game and how you kind of got involved?
Okay, so Persona 5 was my first Persona game, but for some context, I'd already known what Persona was for a very, very long time. I've always seen people cosplay things. I've always seen, it just, especially when 5 came out originally, there was always these funny memes with the attack, the HUD of the attack and the things you can do. And I was like, oh, that's pretty quirky. So I always passed it off as a very sort of quirky game, which I knew was there. But the way it came about actually playing it was that Persona 5, the original, before Royale, went on sale on the PlayStation Store. And my girlfriend picked it up, and I was watching, and then I just thought, this is the strangest thing I am ever watching. I've never seen how the game plays. I sort of know what it was about, but when I saw the intro, I was like, what the hell is this? I was like, this is weird. And I was watching it, and I was like, that's all right, okay. And so I was gradually watching it, and then it sort of was like a fighting, but also dating sim sort of school thing. And I was like, well, I'm only going to know by trying and playing. So I put off playing it for a while, and then I had some time, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to play it. So when I started, it was a very confusing journey for me. But ended up being one of the best games I played in a very long time. Like, it was very, very good. I really enjoyed it. So when Royale was announced and coming out with the additions, I was obviously very excited. So,
okay, I really want to know, have you gone back and played previous games in the series, or it's just Persona 5 at the moment that you're focusing on?
So it's Persona 5 at the moment I've only played, but I know of the previous titles, and I've seen people do a few playthroughs, and I'm just... I've noticed also that through the years, especially in the very old games, it's changed dramatically. Like the way that it's changed from what it was to what it is now. 5 was a big step up, in my opinion. I mean, I've not played the previous, but yeah, 5 is where I've started, and should I go back? Possibly. I mean, I really love the characters in Persona 5, so I don't know. Yeah.
It's interesting because I mean I'm a bit love and hate relationship with specifically the story and the characters in Persona 5. I think they could have done it a bit better, but for me at least, I started off with Persona 4 Golden. That's the reason I got a PlayStation Vita, and it's, to be honest with you, it's the only reason to buy a PlayStation Vita at this point. Is Persona 4 Golden. It's a great game. Like, I personally like it, and then I think the only reason I got into it was because of the anime, and I think Tyson got into it for the same reason, but I'll let him explain that. And I went back and played the previous games before obviously playing 5. So I was playing 3, which is one of my favorite Persona games of all time, because 4 kind of seems like a Scooby-Doo type story. I mean, a lot of people hate on me because of that. And then I played 2 and 1, and you do have a point. There's a lot of stuff that has changed dramatically. I mean, before in the earlier games it was very like Shin Megami Tensei like. It didn't really have an identity as Persona, although it was named Persona. But there's a lot of stuff that has changed, and the game has got obviously its own identity and whatnot now. But there's still a lot of stuff that have been brought in from the previous games. Like playing 1 and 2 and then playing 5, I've seen there's a lot of stuff that's returned, like Persona negotiations and stuff like that. So I mean, it's pretty cool. Tyson, how did you get into Persona?
The negotiations, if I recall correctly, that came from 2. I haven't played it myself, but that's the conversation that I read online, especially when Persona 5 was about to release 3 years ago. That's mostly like the conversation was, oh, Persona 5 will finally be a return to form, and like, yes, you can bring some elements of the Shin Megami Tensei games onto Persona. It is a Shin Megami Tensei game after all. Ever since Persona 3, which added the social simulation component that we all love, that we all enjoy and love, this pretty much, like, I don't think Atlus in a way saw this exploding the way that it did. So that's why. So it was sort of an experiment on 3. It was expanded on upon in 4, and then on 5. Like, if there were to be a Persona game that released in the future without the social component to it, it's just straight dungeon crawling, then it's not Persona. Like, I for one would say that if that element were to be missing at some point, this is not the Persona that I played. This is not the Persona that I fell in love with. Much like Bish, I also got my flavor of Persona from the anime as well. Like prior to that one episode that we did on Persona 4, the animation, I was mildly aware of Persona, but wasn't like a regular player of it. So I ended up falling in love with the anime, with like the dynamics between the characters. I thought it back in the day, I still think so now, that this is like the kind of friends that I would love to hang out with.
Okay.
That episode was also responsible for me getting Persona 4, the original one, which Bish went later on to give me a copy of Persona 4 Gold, and that's when I got the Beta TV that I have now. Funnily enough, I haven't finished Persona 4 Golden, but I did finish the vanilla.
So I was under the impression that you haven't finished any of Persona 4, and I was really upset by that. I was just like, Tyson, how could you? Why would you do that? You're missing out on a lot.
Oh no, I did finish Persona 4. I finished Persona 5. On my way to finishing Royale right now, but we can touch base in our progress a little later on now. The one that I've gotten stuck at is Persona 3. So I got Persona 3 Fest. I don't know, it's like Tartarus to me feels like such a chore. Coming from the mechanics of Persona 4 to 3, like a lot of people that I know prefer 3 over 4. Like, I can get behind the whole Memento Mori thing. It's just that the gameplay isn't there. It's like very crude.
I completely understand where you're coming from, because yeah, the game in terms of gameplay is not the best, and yeah, to me Tartarus feels like Mementos in this game. Like as soon as I played Persona 5, I was like, oh, this is Tartarus just flipped upside down. Like to me that kind of feels the same like that, so I kind of felt that way. I really want to know what you think of Mementos later on, but it's interesting because the game you're playing is Fez, right?
Yes.
So the one that I started playing was Portable, because Portable has a lot of the game mechanics taken from Persona 4, and obviously because it's an updated version of the game for the PSP, so it takes a lot of the stuff from Persona 4. A lot of stuff have been removed. The fact that you can control party members now and stuff have been brought into Persona 3. So if people listening are like Tyson in the sense that they can't really get into Persona 3 because of the game mechanics and stuff, I would suggest maybe playing Persona 3 Portable, because it is very similar to Persona 4 in the way that the game works.
So I have a question for you now that we're going into that topic. So I own Persona 3 Portable, but the one criticism that I heard about it is that it's mostly on rails. It doesn't give me the freedom to explore as P3M Fest gave. Do you found that to be too much of a... okay, so you get the Persona 4 gameplay, but you are giving this up in exchange. Do you felt that it limited your enjoyment of that particular title?
It made me enjoy the title a lot more because in addition to that, yes, I did lose the exploration aspect of Persona 3, but there wasn't much to explore anyway. It's a PS2 game. There's not much. If it had as much exploration as Persona 5 and you took that away from me, yes, I'll be a bit antsy about it. I'll be like, what the fuck is this? But there wasn't much exploration to begin with, and the fact that you get new social links and you get new Velvet Room assistants and I think a new protagonist, a new female protagonist, which is really unheard of for the Persona series. That additional content and even the Yukiko cameo in P3P, that's worth it enough for me, as opposed to playing FES or The Answer or anything like that. Although you don't get the ending, so that you don't get the ending in Persona 3 Portable, you don't get the additional content that you do get in FES.
So what you're saying is that you'd pretty much so what you say is that Portable would be like the definitive version of Persona 3 instead of FES. Am I understanding correctly?
For me, yes, but technically in terms of story, you get the full story if you play at FES. That's no doubt about it. But for me, in terms of game mechanics, it is a better game.
I mean, I could play through Portable and then boot up FES because the portion of FES can be booted separately from the game. So I can look into that whenever I pick up Persona 3 again. So that's good to know.
So as it stands, Tyson, because obviously you've played 4, you've played a little bit of 3, and you've played 5. Which one would you say is your favorite Persona game?
Oh, 5. No doubt about it. I thought 4 couldn't be knocked out of the pedestal that I put it on, but 5 is wow. I've never fell in love with a game as such as I fell in love with 5. To the point in which I obsess over that game. I have a number of merch from 5 to 4 was okay, but I still love it dearly. But 5 to me is at another level for sure.
I want to echo on what you said there as well, because for me, Persona 5 being the only game I have played, for some context, I've been looking for a good single player game to play for the longest time. Everything else is online service, this and that, and the only single player I played, bearing Kingdom Hearts. I was looking for something to play, and it just was the longest time. So when Persona 5 came around and I was starting to get into it, I sort of didn't want it to end, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I mean, that's why we picked up Royale as well, because I started the game and next minute 100 hours had gone, and I was like, oh god, I don't want it to finish. So I sort of got very lucky, because by the time I'd finished 5, Royale was a thing. So it was almost like getting really into watching an anime and having the second season already lined up for you to sort of jump into. So I was like, oh yes, this could be more perfect. Yeah.
Before we kind of get onto the second segment, because you're obviously mentioning Royale a lot, so I just want to know, before we go to an ad break, how many hours have you spent on the original? Each one of you, how many hours have you spent on the original Persona 5?
I think it's 110 hours.
If you give me a moment, I can actually pull you the figure, but it was about 90 hours or so.
I think I beat you. I'm pretty sure I beat your time, because you were like, oh, you've got to play over so many hours, Sam. And then I sent you a thing back and I was like, here's 100 hours.
I take that back. I had the actual screenshot here of my completion. I had the original one. I had 95.51 hours played.
Oh, you're slacking.
So did I take it? Did you guys not replay the game for New Game Plus?
No. So for me,
No.
I didn't replay because I knew Royal was coming.
Okay, fair enough. And Tyson, what's your excuse?
I kind of want to put this experience aside to when I feel ready to come back to it. So I'm not a believer of replaying games immediately. I wasn't particularly gunning for the platinum either. So I wanted to cherish this experience and these feelings that this game gave me. So I didn't want to like try to do a speed run or something of that nature. Like in my mind, I always knew that I wanted to revisit Persona 5, but it wouldn't be anytime soon. But then that anytime soon became, oh, Persona 5 Royale is coming out. And I'm like, yay!
I think for me, and now I feel a bit embarrassed to say how many hours I've spent on Persona 5, because it's a good 350 hours spent on the game.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
How?
Vish, were you completing the compendium by any chance?
I was trying to complete the compendium. I'll get into it a little bit, but because I got a review copy, I got the game 1 month before release, so that was all I was doing. And for people that have read the articles on the website and the reviews that we do, I like to finish the game completely before I review it. So I went through maybe playing it once or twice. I went to complete all of the social links and everything to experience the full game, so that when I reviewed it, it was a good experience for me. The thing is, Tyson, I wasn't able to complete the compendium. The reason why that is because there is a thing in this game, and it's apparent in Royal as well, that when you download DLC Personas, you're very limited on fusions. So it makes it very difficult to fuse Personas when you download the DLC Persona. So that's why I haven't completed.
Are we talking about the DLC for Persona 5 Royale?
So it applies to Persona 5, the original Persona 5, and you may notice within Royale you have a free DLC pack if you live in the United States or in Europe. In Japan, I think you have to repay for that DLC, but that DLC Persona, it's a Persona 5 DLC pack, which includes all of the DLC costumes from Persona 5, all of the items, all of the DLC Persona from Persona 5. So it's a free pack, but once you download that pack, or if you download the Persona 5 Royal DLC for the DLC Personas, so stuff like Messiah, Izanagi Picaro, that kind of stuff. So if you download them and actually use them, you get messed around with Persona Fusion. So if you want to complete the compendium, I suggest do not download the Personas, the DLC Personas yet. Maybe hold off a little bit. But with that being said, I think it's a good place for us to go on a little ad break. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Crunchyroll. Go and check them out at getlifepodcast.com/Crunchyroll for 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll premium service. That means anime without ads, 1080p HD. You can watch it on all your favorite devices, your TVs, your phones, whatever. Even if you want to watch it on your Chromecast, you can as well. That's amazing. Go and check them out. 14-day free trial. You've got the most diverse collection of anime and manga on the internet. So go and check them out. It's a no-brainer, lads. getlifepodcast.com/Crunchyroll. Thank you, Crunchyroll, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by the lovely people at Japan Crate. Japan Crate offers a unique experience of Japan through monthly crates filled with candy, and who doesn't love candy, right? Japan Crate brings you a delicious selection of snacks every month. You can check it out on our YouTube channel for $35 a month, and you can cancel anytime, but I don't know why you would want to. Learn more at getlifepodcast.com/Japan Crate. Remember, use the code GALP for $3 off on new subscriptions. So, getlifepodcast.com/Japan Crate. Use the code GALP for $3 off. And if you want to check out what snacks that you get in the crates, go and check out our YouTube channels. Links will be in the description, so go and check them out. Thank you, Japan Crate, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And we are back with Sam and Tyson. Yeah, we spoke a little bit about Persona 5 and obviously the first games that we kind of played. I really want to get into our thoughts on Persona 5 Royal so far, because obviously everyone here has played Persona 5, the base game. I want to hear your thoughts on Royal. There's a lot of changes in the game that I want to get your thoughts on. Like, what was, when you opened the game, what was like the first thing that jumped out at you? Like, what was like, oh wow, this is a new game as opposed to more of the same stuff?
Well, I mean, it was the opening, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. I skipped that, so...
You skipped it?
Yeah, man. I wanted to get straight into the game.
I was so excited. Yeah, I was so excited because I love watching the opening for the original Persona 5. Just watching it go, it's great. And so I'd not seen it, and so I wanted the full experience, and so we watched it together, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay. Tyson?
The first thing that, well, it's also gotta be the opening, but if we go further into the game, I'd say what struck me of this being a new game, it's gotta be the music, isn't it? Like,
yes, the battle music. It's so good. It's so good.
I thought I couldn't love
Another one.
like another song than Last Surprise.
Yeah.
And this is weird because I feel this way about Golden. Like, I love the battle theme for Persona 4, but I don't like the one in Golden. In Persona 5, I love both Last Surprise and this one. The thing is called Takeover. Like, at first it was a hard sell, but after hearing that like so many times, it's kind of like following you, and next you're just pumping it up on the radio and just jamming down with your car or in your headphones or whatever.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
For me, at first, I didn't necessarily notice it until I got... So you still get Last Surprise if you are not ambushing. So if you ambush, then you get the new music. So at first, I didn't notice it because the game doesn't really put you into that specifically, because obviously you don't ambush from the beginning. But, you know, I don't know. It kind of, for me, the music is a bit interchangeable, because if I'm in a dungeon all the time and I'm hearing the same song over and over, I'm like, fuck, can you just change the music? So for me, what I enjoy the most is just the fact that I have the ability to bring all those DLC costumes. So when you change the costumes, you also change the music. So currently, I'm using the music from Persona 3 with the costumes, because I think Persona 3 had better music, but you know, it's an unpopular opinion.
I just kept Mona in like the maid outfit, I think it was. Yeah. And yeah, it's you know, it's a sight to behold. For me, like there's a sense of ignorance as well, because not playing the previous games, I don't know how much weight and meaning the previous outfits have to see somebody else wearing them. But you know, the funny ones, for example, you know, that's all for me. It's great.
Fair enough. I mean, like, there's a lot of funny different costumes. Like, they even got like the Catherine stuff in there, and I'm like,
yeah.
Like, I've not played Catherine, so for me, I don't use it, and I don't really like the music that comes with it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not into that. But I did notice one thing that I'm not sure was if it was evident in the original Persona 5, is that when you change the costumes for cutscenes, it doesn't put your costumes on. And I'm like, what was that about?
Yes, yeah, I noticed that, and I thought surely that would stick through them.
Well, if anything, what that says is that the cutscenes are not rendered in engine. So that's just FMB.
You know, like when Futaba comes in and gives you guys buffs, like, what's the point of changing Futaba's costume if you can't see her costume change?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I haven't changed the outfits in any of my characters, so I can't relate. But I mean, I haven't even done that. I haven't even done that to Futaba. I kind of just swap outfits one, and that was back in Kamoshida's palace. And turned out that any of the options that I got, I didn't really like them, so I just swept back to the original costumes.
Even the Persona 5 dancing costumes.
I did try the dancing ones, but I was thinking that I would get the ones that were used in P5D, and for instance, she doesn't have like her dancing outfit, like it's different. It is different. So if it was like P5D, then I wouldn't mind. Like I would leave them in those outfits forever. But since that is not the case, I was like, yeah, let's just swap back to the regular outfit. That looked good enough.
To be honest with you, like, just to step off from outfits a little bit, because we've been talking about that for quite a while, there's a change that hit me that made me really feel that this is a completely different game. And what that was the Velvet Room. There's a lot of changes in the Velvet Room. There's a lot of, like, not so much the alarm. The one thing that got me straight away was, you know, when you do multiple fusions, like 3 or 4 Persona at a time, like special fusions and stuff.
You could do these fusions in the original as well. Like, one thing that was different is like the happy hour of fusion that wasn't in the original.
What I was saying about that, Tyson, I'm not sure if you noticed it, is the fact that if you don't have the Persona on you, because before in Persona 5 you had to have them all with you in your stock.
Yes.
Now
yes.
you can get them straight away without even them going into your stock. So that's a great quality of life change. That kind of got me in. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And yeah, you did mention the Persona alarm, which I really want to get into, but I find it a bit of an inconvenience at times.
How so?
The reason why is because at the beginning of the game, when you get access to that, I think it's at Madarame's palace actually, when you get access to persona alarms and stuff in the Velvet Room, you can pretty much only do one guillotine, one electric chair, and one hanging before the alarm goes off, or before you fuck up a fusion. And I've done it so many times where I've fucked up a fusion and I've paid more money for the fusion. Because, when you hit rank 5, that's another thing, confidants have changed slightly. When you hit rank 5 with the twins, you have the ability to buy fusions greater than your own power. So you can pay like 500,000 yen to like fuse crazy personas early on. So I did that and I lost like 200,000 yen on a shitty persona. It came out like a level 7 persona. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Oh no.
And that's the reason why I don't like persona alarms. Although if you do go with if you do the confidant for Chihaya, because her confidant rewards have changed, you can actually extend the amount of personas you can fuse within the alarm, or you can trigger more alarms more frequently.
I mean, let's be honest, who's going to do that? Confident.
I think she's more useful in this game than in previous games. That's just my opinion, because of persona alarms and stuff.
You're too kind. My thing, I was actually going to switch topics about a particular change. So if you're still wanting to finish up the things, then yeah, go ahead.
At least, as it pertains to Chihaya, I've been trying to level her up. Haven't found too much progress getting that done, and since I'm at a part in which I really need to focus on one particular confidant, otherwise the whole third act of the game will not open up to me.
Are you talking about Kasumi or are you talking about Maruki?
Maruki, to be specific. I already maxed out Kasumi. I'm working on Maruki, the counselor. I, for one, enjoy having Akeshi around, so
his social link or his confidant isn't story driven in the sense that it doesn't level up throughout the story. I think it's a bit of a pain. I've been panicking. I'm panicking because I'm almost at Sai's palace when obviously he joins you, but you don't have much time to get that confidant to level 8. So it blocks you off at level 7 if you need to get like level 4 knowledge, obviously. But it locks you off until he joins your party. And it's like, even then, to reach level 8 within that space of time, it's kind of like you only have like a week, and if you fuck it up, you've basically lost that cutscene. And the game makes me panic. It makes me stress about who I go and hang out with, which is kind of like real life, but you know. But yeah, Sam, as you were saying, there was a point that you wanted to mention specifically off this topic.
I actually wanted to talk about, because I've come from only playing P5, but the biggest quality of life change I've seen is just being able to not go to sleep all the time and not being told when to go to bed, and being able to do multiple things before the cat domination takes over, and suddenly your life is driven by a cat.
A lot of people, even in the promotional material, when you get the press release for the game, and obviously not many people know about this, it mentions that as a selling point.
Yeah.
The fact that you can do more stuff before Morgana tells you to go to sleep. And obviously it's a big meme in the community.
I'm sure he mentioned it in a trailer as well. He was like, oh, you can do more. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure in one of the trailers building up hype for it, he was saying, yeah, you can do more now.
It makes a lot more sense, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not like you can do crazy things. Like, if you really wanted to go after, like, do something after a dungeon or, like, mementos, then the best thing to do is rank up Kawakami and get her to give you guys a massage, and then you can do whatever you want. But if you want to rank up your, if you want to make coffee, if you want to make curry, if you want to rank up your knowledge stats or read or work out in your room or whatever, that's the stuff that I kind of like, because yes, the game still has those moments, specifically within Okumura's palace or within that arc, at the beginning of the arc, where basically Morgana is like fucking off and gets offended, and you can't do anything for that whole week because Morgana's not there. And it's just like, okay, these are the things that I think need to be fixed, as opposed to, cool, you can just do other stuff. Morgana doesn't tell you to go to sleep. But there's still little bits here and there that I think don't need to be there because of the story. Because why do you need Morgana to be there as you're working out? Why do you need Morgana to be there as you're making coffee? It just doesn't make sense.
Maybe Joker just wants a friend, and cats are great, and
but Morgana's not a cat.
Well, I have no idea. I mean, I always refer to him as a cat. I mean, the cat pisses me off anyway. So I'm glad that you know, I don't have to go to bed now, and I don't make a lockpick and suddenly I'm just exhausted. You know, I could just do other things, which is really good.
That's a change that a lot of people are excited for. Me, not so much, because I kind of got used to it. Like in the original game, I was like, you know what, I'm timing out my time in a particular way. It's fine if Morgana tells me to go to bed. But yeah, you do have a point. You can do a lot more things now. I mean, in the game as well, because of that change, there's a lot of subsequent changes that you kind of really need to think. Like, because in battles and stuff before, I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing. I wasn't really thinking about like SP and stuff like that. And the fact that now you can like brew coffee and stuff after, you know, a long day or whatever, it adds a bit more to the game that you can use later on. In terms of other I'm trying to think of other stuff that's changed from this game.
I have one, if I may. So this has been insanely useful for me. I'm not sure about you guys. So remember in Persona 5 when you just entered the bathroom and it didn't do absolutely nothing?
Oh yes.
This time around, you can actually like have a general idea of where are you in leveling up your ranks. I find that quality, that quality change like insanely useful.
Yes.
At least gives me an idea of, okay, so I'm about this close to leveling up my guts, or I'm about this. So right now I'm kind of worrying on kindness because I'm aiming to complete Sojiro and Futaba's Sojiro's social link, to be specific, in which I need to be kindness rank 5 in order to get that done. In order to start Futaba's social link, I needed to be kindness level 4. I'm already that, but I want to focus for the time being on leveling up Maruki, because I need to get him to max rank before a set date, so I can get access to the third act of the game. Otherwise, all of this would have been for naught. I can always start Futabas later.
True, that is completely true. Specifically with Maruki, like I said, the game is stressful because of those limits that they put. With Maruki, I think it's rank 9. You don't need to max out. I don't think the 10th bit comes with the new semester, but rank 9 for Maruki. It's stressful because there are points in the game where it locks you off. So like when you go, which was never really a case in the previous Persona 5. That's another change. Like for example, Kawakami, because she's a school teacher, during school holidays, you can't access her social link, which is kind of, I mean, now it's kind of weird, but it makes sense because obviously you're not really going to see a teacher, you know, during school holidays. It's a bit awkward. But it's the same with Maruki. Like when you go to Hawaii, obviously you can't see Maruki. During the summer holidays, you can't see Maruki. And then even after that, Maruki kind of blocks you in a sense that there'll be a day that's raining. You can't see Maruki on the days that it's raining, which is a bit weird. I don't understand why that is. Does he get like really upset when it's raining?
I did not notice that. Like, I thought that how it worked is that he was only available during certain days, like pretty much all social ranks are, but I did not notice that the weather plays a part in his availability.
Yeah,
so
I've noticed that, because there'll be a time where it will say on the screen that his social link is up, so you can go and see him, and then when you go and speak to him, and it'll be flashing blue and everything, and when you go to speak to him, he'll be like, oh, it's raining today, and he just won't speak to you, and I'm like, is this a glitch? Like, or is this like a real thing? Like, what is going on? Why does Maruki not like the rain? Like, what are you up to, man? Like, what? Do you have anything better to do? Like, what the fuck? Like, for me, that was a bit odd. Other than that, I think it's pretty cool, the fact that he's even in there. Like, I like him. He's so chill. Like, he's a cool guy.
Although, if the soundtrack that was included on the limited edition of Persona 5 Royale is any indication, I have my suspicions. I haven't investigated on this further, but I'd rather keep it at that because I found out a particularly upsetting spoiler of Royale. I'm naturally not gonna share that here. I'm crossing my fingers that it isn't true. But
fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the game, obviously, that have been circulating. Even back in Persona 5, there's a lot of stuff. So, like I said, I mean, for this episode, it's completely spoiler-free. Yes, there are some elements that we do talk about that kind of are on the edge, but we're not going to, like, ruin the story or anything. Yeah, one thing that I do want to talk about is mementos, because there's a lot of changes to mementos, a lot of changes that I absolutely fucking love. And Atlas, well done. That's a good change. Specifically, like, I never used to grind in Mementos. Now I feel like I can without it feeling a bit boring because of the new character Jose. And I find that a bit weird. The fact that he's called Jose and it's spelled with a J. Shouldn't it be pronounced Jose?
It's supposed to be pronounced Jose.
But all the characters say Jose, and I think that's just weird, Tyson, don't you think?
I mean, I'm a Spanish speaker, so I would call him Jose. But it's something about the it's something about the English language, like when for some reason they use their only lexicon, so it can get this type of weird scenarios.
But for me, I don't think it's necessarily to do with the English, because for example, if I was to say jalapenos, it starts with a J, but it's a H sound, right? So like I think it's something to do with the Japanese translation. So obviously in Japanese it would be Jose, right? There wouldn't be a Jose, it would just be Jose. And then when they change that into English, they just use the Japanese like pronunciation, because I've noticed that with a lot of other names in the game.
Depends on how strict Atlus was on keeping a particular version of the name sounding. So you find this a lot in anime, for instance, when they insist on using like the English version, the Japanese, for lack of a better word, English version of a name or a term. So I think there's a little of that in here as well, in which the director was, no, I want this pronunciation to be this way, and the voice actors just have to roll with it,
I guess. I mean, but it's a bit awkward. Like for example, Ann, like, is her name Ann or is it Anne? That's something that I wanted to know, but I will never find out.
I mean, you can always ask her if her voice actress Erica Harlacher.
If I could manage to get her on, I mean, otherwise, I can send her a tweet.
I mean, from what I've observed, she's pretty chill. So who knows?
For me, the two main Memento changes that were amazing for me was first the Monacar being able to speed up. Holy crap!
Wait, you could do that?
Really good.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Whoa, my mind is blown, man.
I'm pretty sure you can go quicker with the car now. And the second one was, I don't know if you guys have done this, but when you're in the Mona car, have you guys pressed your PlayStation button, the thing at the top?
What, the touchpad?
Yeah.
No, what happens?
Have you not done that?
No.
Not with the car, no.
Yeah, when you're in the car. Can I say this? Is that...
Maybe you can. Say if it's a spoiler, we'll bleep it out. But...
Okay. When it's very, very funny. When you press the thing, it makes a cat noise.
Wow.
Oh, like a little horn?
Yeah, when you're in the car and you press and you're driving around and you press it makes... Somebody got a cat and put a microphone to its face, and if you keep pressing it, it makes all these different cat noises. It's brilliant. We accidentally pressed it and was like, what the hell was that? And we kept pressing it and it kept making cat noises.
Wow. That's
so...
I am so doing this way.
I'm surprised no one actually commented on that. I've not seen an article that talks about.
Did you guys not know? Like,
no.
it was by accident. It was purely by accident. And when you press it, honestly, when you get time and you're in Mementos or wherever, just press it and it makes a cat noise through the PlayStation controller.
Oh no!
Through the PlayStation controller.
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand that, because I've set all of those noises off, because I fucking hate that when stuff comes through the controller. But
you have to actually press. You have to press the thing in for it to work. Obviously, you don't do like touch it or like the touchpad. You have to press it in.
Also, it's not a tab. It's like pressing the button in the touchpad.
When you pet it, like when you stroke the how else can I say this without being weird? When you stroke the controller, it makes a purring noise.
When you stroke what, you mean the touchpad portion?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it makes a purring noise.
That's amazing. I'm surprised. Look, Sam, I think you're like the first person to find this out, because I've seen no one talking about this
really?
online. No one has spoken about this, and I'm pretty sure if you could,
it's my job as a journalist. I mean, come on. I've got to find these things out. But it's incredible. And we just spent like 5 minutes pressing the thing in because it just makes these noises. You have to try it. It's brilliant.
I'll try it when I play later on today after this recording. That's the first thing I'm going to do.
I will too.
That is just insane. Like, there's so many other major changes in Mementos, but this seems like the number one change.
It's the best quality of life change.
Wow.
That's why I mentioned it.
Touche, Atlas. You've done some stuff. Like, I've noticed there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be changed, and there's a little bits and bobs here and there. Tyson mentioned before with the, going to the bathroom and seeing your ranks on your intelligence and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't think we can all find out at once. Like, Atlas isn't saying these things, so it's like when people find out, they find out, I guess. There's interesting things, specifically with Jose, the fact that you can change the cognition of mementos. Like, you can basically add XP boost and or swap that if you want more money in mementos, which is really good for the later game when you really want to fuse them higher powered personas and stuff. Yeah, I think there's stuff like that that's pretty cool. I mean, like, specifically within the end game, like, obviously this isn't spoilers for Royal, but more so spoilers for 5. Your final dungeon is basically mementos. So you could, if you haven't gone through mementos at the start of the game and you have to go through all of it at the end, you're going to drain a lot of SP, you're going to drain a lot of HP and stuff. So it's nice that you have a shop there to, buy items and stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that was quite good. I mean, it gave it more incentive as well to actually give it more meaning besides going in there when the weather changes. For different effects, you can actually, go in there and, there's a potential that some things will be burning like usual, or there's the actual battle itself where some, if you do a certain amount of damage, things explode, and there's more of an incentive, especially the layout changes as well, because they were a bit repetitive. I found in 5, there's some. I saw when the game was coming out that people were tweeting just some mementos map layouts with just a straight line or like a square. It's very funny.
To my knowledge, like, it's all like it's like an algorithm that changes, but I'm guessing when it gets to a certain point.
Yeah, I was wondering the same. Like, aren't mementos maps supposed to be procedurally generated? Like, I believe it's something that Mona mentioned at the beginning of Memento. Like, how this layout will always change. So even like going from floor to floor, and even if you go back to a previously traversed floor, the layout just changed. And I don't know where to find stuff now.
It's the same also with the stamps, because now you have the stamp system with Jose, right? So even then, there will be certain times where it'll be like you have to collect 20 stamps, but there's only 10 floors, and you can go through the floors once, and you might not even find any additional stamps. Once again, it incentivizes you to go through mementos all over again to get all of the stamps.
Has that happened to you?
That has happened to me.
I haven't had any problems trying to get all the stamps.
No, I've
had that issue with me. Like, personally, there have been times where I haven't gotten all the stamps on the floor. Obviously, you get the ones at the exits and stuff, but I haven't got all the ones on the floor because of this. So I have to go into mementos on another day to go to those same floors. Obviously, it will spawn in the stamps. Once again, I'm not sure if that's a glitch or if that is...
So earlier you were asking me how I felt about mementos in comparison with Tartarus, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so mementos, I feel like it is what Tartarus should have been. Even the Persona 5 version one, not the Royale one, because while Tartarus to me has always felt like a drag to complete, and the thing is, I have to do this in order to get to the end game in Persona 3. I mean, it's no different in Mementos because that's pretty much where the end game is, but it doesn't feel like that much of a chore. I'm not sure it's hard to put in words what exactly is it that I like about Mementos more, because if I was given perhaps in its proper context how many floors I'm traversing in order to get to Mementos depths, it could be pretty much the same as I went through Tartarus in order to get to the top. I don't know, talk to me, Bish. Stating this, how do you feel about Mementos versus Tartarus?
Originally, when playing Persona 5, I was pretty much at home with Mementos because it was just like, yeah, man, this is Tartarus. It's just flipped upside down. And I get what you mean. And I think really where you're coming from, it might be because the fact that you don't know what's going to happen next. There's so many variables that you can't account for within Mementos. There's stuff like weather changes affecting bosses and stuff like that. There's requests as well. You didn't get that in Tartarus. Tartarus was very orthogonal in the sense that everything was organized. Everything was the same depending on which floor you go to. Each time you go into Mementos, it changes. So So for me, it didn't really make much of a difference, but I can understand where you're coming from as to why you might feel that Mementos is less boring than Tartarus, because in reality it is. What I don't like about Mementos, but I do prefer about Tartarus, is the fact that Mementos is really dark. And I know that sounds really stupid, but I don't like turning up the brightness. And yeah, I did subsequently do that, but it's still quite dark and dreary, and I understand why it's like that, but I just like the blue palette that was used in Tartarus as opposed to that red and sort of stupid dark thing. I don't want to feel like I'm driving through like this edgy thing. Like, I don't like that. So that's probably why, on a subconscious level, why I don't like Mementos as much as Tartarus. But hey ho, I think it's each to their own.
But wouldn't you feel like, from an artistic point, that, say for instance, that there's even a little bit of Tartarus remade in the Persona 5 art style, in the Memento style, like, don't you think like it would be done similarly? It's just that in contrast with the Tartarus that we have now, the consoles can now handle like look ahead, so it wouldn't look like like a late PS1 game in which it had fog or it had darkness to cover up areas that the console couldn't load immediately. Because like I can agree, or I'm sorry, I can understand you disagreeing with the artistic choice, but I don't think that Tartarus, even with the Memento style, would be any different, you know?
True, I completely understand where you're getting from. Like, if they were to do a Persona 3 remaster with, you know, the P5 engine, yes, probably it would maybe look very similar. Another thing that I think I realize now is the fact that you're in the cat the whole time. That's one thing that I like it, but at the same time, it kind of gets a bit repetitive. And the fact that you can attack certain bosses and just basically not get into a fight. I want to go into Mementos to get into a fight sometimes. So the lovely thing for me about Tartarus is the fact that you were walking around. It was basically a palace, right? I understand where they're going for, but I personally just liked walking around and seeing the costumes and just talking to the characters and interacting with characters. You don't get that as much. Yes, they have some funny quips when they're in the car. But if you do something, or if you pause the game at a certain point, it will just stop that quip. It won't continue it. So that might be another reason. I don't know, Tyson. Sometimes I think it's all in my head, and that there isn't a definitive reason why I prefer Tartarus to Mementos, but that is my own personal problem, I guess. I don't think a lot of people will agree with me.
I mean, I can't really voice why I dislike Tartarus. Like, perhaps if I sat down with someone and told me like the reasons as to why Tartarus the way it is and Mementos the way it is, because like for instance, I feel like a cheap cop-away would be to say that I prefer the Mementos music to the Tartarus music, but then again, it's an artistic choice. But it's like this uneasy feeling that I want to form a little bit more, but I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. So, like, if any Persona fans would like to reach out to me, I'll be sharing my Twitter later under the show, I suppose, and we can have a conversation.
Fair enough. That being said, I really want to go in for an ad break, and then after that, we're going to be talking about confidants and our favorite characters, least favorite characters. So see you after the ad break. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Loot Anime. Loot Anime brings you the best collectibles and gear and merch and even more from your favorite anime and manga series from past and presents, with a $60 value of each crate for $35 a month. And you can cancel at any time. It is a no-brainer. Learn more at getalifepodcast.com/Loot Anime and use the code GALP15 for 15% off on your next crate. Go and check them out. Support the show. In addition to that, if you want to see what's in the upcoming crates, you can go and check it out on our YouTube channel. Remember, that is getalifepodcast.com/Loot Anime. Use the code GALP15 for 15% off. Thank you, Loot Anime, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the wonderful people at JList. JList brings you the latest anime and otaku goods from Japan directly, whether that's anime, manga, cosplay, import game, visual novels. JList has got you covered. Learn more at getalifepodcast.com/JList, and remember to use our link and the code GALP for 5% off on all purchases on JList. That's including pre-orders. Remember, getalifepodcast.com/JList. Thank you very much, JList, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And we are back with Sam and Tyson. I don't know why I said Tyson like that, but, either way, it's just fun
More
to
emphasis.
say.
Yeah, more emphasis on the name.
More emphasis on the name. I actually like the name, so
Aw, thank you.
you're welcome, Tyson. But confidants, basically. Confidants are basically, if you've played previous Persona games, they're social links, but they're reworked in a certain way. There are some changes from previous games, and I've done some research on it before this episode. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. I've been looking through game files and stuff. Confidants were going to be working very differently compared to 3 and 4, to how it is now in 5. Like the fact that it was going to be the case where confidants would flip, the Arcana cards would flip around, which is a pain in the ass. And I'm so glad that they didn't include that in this game, because it would have been the case that if you ignored messages and stuff, you would basically be forced to, you wouldn't be able to continue with that confidant and level them up. That would have made it a lot more stressful. But I'm glad they didn't include that. But I want to know Sam first, because I'm pretty sure I already know who Tyson's favorite characters are and everything. But I wanted to know, Sam, who is your favorite character in Persona 5?
Oh God, are we just talking about confidence first?
Yeah, okay, let's say
my
confidants first, and then we'll go into like your best girls and your favorite characters and stuff.
Oh boy. So for confidence, I have so context is always important here. I knew that you could romance a lot of people, and in actual fact, I knew that there's some funny Easter eggs, you can have where you try and romance everybody in one. You get that funny cutscene. So when I was playing, how can I not say any of this and it not annoy people? I found that Arn was the very stereotypical first romance option they gave you. As a non-Persona player, I was like, oh God, well, I'll just say, there has to be more here. There needs to be more here for me. So what ended up happening was as I was sort of tweeting my random adventures from playing 5 for the first time, what ended up happening was it was a toss-up between the doctor and the teacher.
Okay.
Now, what happened was, my thought process was, whichever one I romance first is fine, because I was like, both of them are great, so I was like, you know what, let's see what happens. So what happened was my first confident romance for Max and blah 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 was Kawakami.
All right, fair enough. I mean, like for me, I'm very intrigued why you wanted to stay faithful, because obviously for me, I played Persona 4 and it was just like Akami was a pimp. Like he was going around romancing every character he could. If he could romance Yosuke, he would do it. You know what I mean? He would romance everyone. So for me, I'm in that Persona 4 mindset where it's like I want to romance every character in the game that I can. So I'm surprised that you actually went for only one character and you decided to remain faithful.
For me, like I knew that there was multiple options, and I knew that the more you have, that there's more chance of messing up or something would happen. So I wanted a very vanilla experience, especially being the first time I had played. But there is some steep competition there as well with the confidence.
Like for me, personally, the confidants that I tend to go for, the first confidant that I really want to get maxed out from the beginning, because it's kind of easier to do if you look through Persona Fusion guides, is the twins. And not necessarily because they have a story, but because the rewards you get. That's what I like about this game. The rewards are insane. Like the fact that it used to be the case that in previous Persona 5, in the original Persona 5, if you max out the twins' confidants, then you have the ability to buy Persona Fusions greater than your power. So you pay like insane amounts of money. But now they've lowered it down to level 5, so you can get it pretty early on in the game. I like that. And I think that's a really good change. It means I don't need to necessarily spend as much time fusing with the twins and stuff. They're a great confidant, but mainly for their reward system. But in terms of like the one that I enjoyed the most, in Persona 5, I actually used to hate particular confidants. Like Yusuke. I used to hate Yusuke. I was like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
I used to hate him. And the same with Haru. And obviously Tyson knows my opinion on Haru, that I actually fucking hate her and I think she's bullshit. But then in this game, in Royal, I'm like, wow, you know what? Haru is really cool. I actually really like Haru and I really enjoy Yusuke. And it's stuff like that. After spending so much time without playing the game and then going back into it, I'm like, there's some really nice social links and really nice confidants in here. But in terms of the more romantic confidants, Takemi, yes, I agree with you. The Doctor is amazing. Kawakami, her story kind of got to me a little bit. Like, it's kind of the way that they do it. It's kind of like not necessarily set in stone until a certain point, because obviously she's working in it as a maid and whatever. But it's like the story got to me because it was like, obviously, I don't want to spoil the confidant, but she's working as a maid, and we'll put that in air quotes. But the reason why she's doing it, it's kind of like this kind of, I don't want to say a noble reason, but it's like, it got to me, and I was just like, wow, Kawakami, that's why you're best girl, because you've done what you needed to do. And like, there's a lot of guilt associated with what she's doing, and she feels very guilty about what she's doing and stuff like that, that I feel that she feels like a real human being. I know that sounds really bad, because obviously I'm insinuating that the other characters feel plastic, but like, I don't get the same feeling with Takemi, and I don't get the same feeling with Futaba. Like, I did enjoy Futaba's social link in Persona 5, but now I'm not really into it. Like, I'm like, okay, Futaba, cool, move along. Like, we want to get into like the real meat and potatoes. Like, even Kasumi, like her confidant so far, I've maxed it out, and it made me cry. I know it sounds really weird that, you know, a grown man is crying at video game characters, but it made me cry. Like, it was so emotional. Same with Maruki as well. Like, Maruki's confidant is very like depressing. So get ready for that, Tyson, when you're maxing him out. Get the tissues ready, get the paper towels ready, so because you're gonna be crying a river.
I mean, are we getting on to people we don't like? Are we still running through?
Well, I mean, we can finish off with Tyson, and then we can go on to people we don't like, because there's a lot of them.
As far as enjoyable social links, I have to think about this one for a moment, and while listening to the both of you share your feelings, I don't think it was enough time, but I'll do my best here. I'm really enjoying Akeshi's.
Oh, Tyson, I knew you'd say that.
No, I'm serious. Like this dude just taking me out, because like the whole the whole Ring and Akeshi stuff is that Akeshi kind of sees him as a rival, only because Arem dared to question his opinions on the Phantom Thieves. So Akeshi just was like, oh, I appreciate your perspective, let's be friends, yay. So it was kind of annoying in the original Persona, but well, as Bish said, Akeshi was only level through story events, but now that they added this whole dimension to his character, obviously I can't really go into how I really feel about this without going into spoilers. So
I mean, you can talk about spoilers, and it's for Persona 5, not Royal, I guess. If you want to, it's up to you.
So for the audience, if you play Persona 5 and if you are at that party Royal, you know what I'm talking about. So I just leave it at that.
The one thing I want to kind of interject a little bit. I've noticed that with changing his confidant to having it not progressing through story is very interesting, because I've noticed that it changes the story slightly. Obviously, when you first meet Akechi, it's within the same scenario, but he says certain things a lot earlier, and it kind of sticks out a lot more like a sore thumb. So it kind of, I don't know, it makes it a lot less shocking, if you get what I mean. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly, because we've all played through Persona 5, we know what happens, but it would be interesting to see if someone who has not played Persona 5, maybe just playing through Royal, like if they can pick up on the signs.
Because I didn't, 100%. When I originally played, I did not, and that got me, and I was like, what the fuck is it? Like,
If you know, if you know, you know. Let me just switch topics here because we're kind of focusing too much on this. So I've enjoyed Kasumi's, but only because of virtue that is new. As far as the rest, you know, I kind of been enjoying Makoto's. I didn't enjoy it in Persona 5 because of how much leveling I had to do in order to get to particular events in her social link. Like in Persona 5, I didn't even bother, but in Royale, I feel like right now I think I have Makoto at 6, and I'm not progressing further because, like I said, I want to focus on Maruki, because otherwise all this time that I've been playing is for naught.
But still, it kind of feels like you're reverting back to the characters that you already know and love, because you mentioned before Persona 4 for you was a game where these were the kind of people that you wanted to hang out with. Do you feel the same about Makoto in Persona 5 Royal, for example? That's what I wanted to know.
I just want to be clear here. I am probably jumping the gun a bit. My intention is not to romance Makoto.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm going all in on Kasumi. I'm going all in on her.
The thing is, can you romance Kasumi?
Yes, you can. I read a number of articles in which her if her social link gets expanded if you get to the third act of the game, and you're able to pursue a romantic route with her.
Because I've tried to do that earlier on within the social link, and she's so not harsh, but she's just savage. Like you'd be like, oh, you want to be like partners or whatever, and she'll just turn you down, and she'll laugh about it, and I'm like, wow, that's. Not.
If you try to do it at any point other than the third act, you will come across that. But if you do it during the third act, you'll find that she's more receptive to actually going out with you and whatnot. I'm trying to follow a guide here in order so that because I already had to reject Anne. I'm at that point in her social link in which I rejected her. I'm like level 9 with her. I haven't unlocked Haru's yet, as I'm still going through Okumura's palace. I already romanced Futaba. I know how her social link is. So
you're not going to do that again?
No, I'm not going to do that again. So I'm just gonna treat her like the little sister that a lot of the community sees her as.
The Emoto.
The Emoto, even though I don't particularly agree, but I don't wanna knock that. I don't wanna knock that wasps nest.
You know, I'll be honest with you. The only reason I haven't gone for Futaba in terms of romance is because she reminds me so much of forgot her name. Fucking hell. Oh no. What? The cousin, Akami's cousin. What's her name? Shit. Nanako. Yes, she reminds me too much of Nanako, and I can't. Nanako made me really upset when playing through that game. But either way, yeah, Futaba to me is like Nanako. I can't. And you know what? I'm disappointed in myself that I couldn't remember Nanako's name. Fucking hell, she was my favorite character in Persona 4, and I couldn't even remember her name. You know what? I don't think I should call myself a Persona fan anymore.
I am revoking your Persona fandom.
Yeah, no. Atlas, if you're listening, stop giving me review codes. I don't deserve them. But the one thing that I wanted to mention, who are you going to romance again? Because you said you're going to go for Kasumi. You're not going to go for another person? You're not like Pimp Narukami? You're not going to go for like multiple people? Or is it just me?
All for the purpose of a meme. No. I'm just going to stay... I'm just gonna say monogamous. If I want to see the cutscene, I can always look it up on YouTube. For those who are braver than me.
Fair enough. You know what? I've done that. Every playthrough that I had of Persona 5, I did that. I went through because I don't know. I was kind of greedy. I just wanted everyone. I was like Takemi, Kawakami. I think Ann as well. I wasn't able for Haru, but I did for Makoto, and the cutscene is so bad. Like I didn't expect it, and I was just like, "Fuck, this is what I get." Because I was still assuming that Joker's kind of like Pimp Yu Narukami, you know what I mean? So clearly he doesn't get away with it. He doesn't have enough charm to do that.
So before we move on, I kind of want to butt heads with Sam for a moment. I love him dearly, but I'm not agreeing in the decision that he made, because, and this is more my experience with the community back when Persona 5 was at large, but I found a lot of people were like saying, oh, why are you romancing the kids when they're two adults? And that got like so much in my nerves back in the day. Like even I can remember vividly the things that annoy me about community discussion about Persona 5 back in the day. It was 1, why are you romancing Futaba? 2, the sheer amount of Makoto fans out there in which I was like legitimately annoyed by that. And number 3 is, just romance the adults. So that was like, I can't say myself that I disapprove of the Doctor, because she has like that devious charm to her that if I like in another playthrough I would definitely come to maybe to romance her. But then Sam mentioned that he romanced Kawakami, and I'm like, no, Sam.
I mean, this is, it was definitely a difficult choice, but it was more so that you're almost curious, right? The curiosity almost gets the better of you. You know it's something that shouldn't happen anyway, so you want to see what happens. And I think that's what happened with me, because I was like, well, to me, as I was already mentioned, like Arn was your very atypical, your first sort of romance thrust to you, should you want to romance her. But then when these other options came up, I was like, wait a minute, what else can I unlock here if I sort of push the buttons and see what happens, And so it was a toss up between those two, and it just so happened that obviously I'd done something correct where I was able to fully go with Kawakami.
In regards to Kawakami, like, I'm surprised at how human her social link is. Like, literally, she's just doing the main thing because she wants to help her. That's why she's doing it for, and the wages that she earns as a teacher.
You've completed the social link, right?
No, I got to a point in which I know what Kawakami's motivations are. So I think it's about rank 4 or rank 5.
I'm gonna say to you,
like
Tyson, complete the social link. That's all I'm gonna say.
There is more to it than that.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil it for you, but complete the social link.
I've been finding really hard to level Kawakami up, and I'm not sure if I'm stuck right now in as far as time period in her social link. Like, I've been calling her over to make coffee, to do my laundry, because I'm thinking, so since I know that she wants to pay off a big bill, I should just continue to call on her and give her money.
So I'm gonna stop you right there, because doing those things doesn't progress the social link at all. I get where you're coming from, and that's the logical sense, but the easiest way that I've noticed to rank up her social link is obviously after that big, it costs a lot of money. You need to have a lot of money to hire her, but you need to do it at a certain time. So you have to do it at nighttime on Friday night and Saturday night. They changed it from the original Persona 5. And in addition to that, during the school breaks, you can't contact her at all. So that might be why you're finding it a bit difficult to access her social link, because there's a lot more barriers in the way. But I think that's because her end reward is, I think, out of all of the rewards, she has the best one, because it gives you more time in the game.
So to recap, hire her on Fridays, Saturdays, and you mentioned some other date that it got cut off. Can you repeat that?
So Fridays and Saturday nights, and not during the, obviously you're cut off during the school breaks, so which wasn't an issue in the previous game, but now they've included that here. So it's more difficult to get in thing with her. But I think what you could do is go to the shrine. That's what I do. So I would go to the shrine. So not the one in Kichijoji, like the original shrine. Go to that shrine before Friday night and before Saturday, and then pray for the social link. And then you'll see her little bubbles going up a little bit. And it's just an easy way to get her up.
That's good to know.
It is. I think the whole shrine mechanic in this game is been buffed up a little bit more, because you actually can see, like, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, the little music tunes that come out when you say the correct thing during a social link. There's a way, if you look at it closely, I think if they're smiling or something, that's how you know that it's going to rank up for the next time you speak to them. So there's little cues within Royal that kind of tells you that, okay, you're a little bit closer to the social link, so you're not like having to rely on guides and stuff. For me, I think there was another social link that I really want to talk about. Which characters do you dislike the most, and which social links do you think that are just pointless and really shit and you don't want to even talk about? Like, what is that for you? Because for me, in this game, I find Yoshida to be very pointless. In Persona 5, he's very useful. But in this game, because of the new mechanics with Jose, with, leveling up money and stuff, doing negotiations aren't really much of a thing. That's how I see it. So I find him a bit annoying. And when he calls me, I'm like, fuck off, mate. Just, I want to spend time with someone else. I don't want to spend time with him. Is there any social links that you find, or confidants that you find that, not this guy again, I don't want to bother with him or her?
For me, I'm thinking Oya and Chihaya at
Really?
the moment.
No. Okay, I want to know why. Tell me.
So like, I of course my opinion is subject to change. I still haven't finished the game, but I find her overall usefulness to the story like almost null. And in terms of the rewards that I get, are stuff that I could do without. I would much
talking about
so
Oya
it-
or Chihaya?
oh yeah.
Okay, no, I
Oh
agree.
yeah.
with you.
So as far as Shihaya, how I'm going to her is that so she'll be attending climbs in which I can do stuff in mementos. So I haven't reached a conclusion as to whether she's useful or not. But definitely Oya is like, hey, don't call me. Like, you should be talking to Mishima.
Okay.
He is your
Fair
contact.
enough. Maybe she doesn't like Mishima. You don't know, Tyson. Don't judge her.
So if I have to go to Crossroads, which is the bar that Oya is in Shibuya,
Oh no, Tyson! Don't tell me you do that. I know what you're gonna say. You'd be like, "I'll answer her text message so I get a free ticket." Tyson, come on.
no, not even the free ticket, and I'm not sure if this was a thing in Persona 5. In Royale, I can work at the bar.
Yeah,
So
you could
if I
do
need
that
to
in
level up
5
my
as well.
kindness, okay, I never did it in 5. I thought it was a Royale thing.
There's something that I want to mention also about Oya. It's like the only reason that within Persona 5 that I even went for her confidant is just the way that she was designed. The way that she looks, her face, her hairstyle, the clothes that she wore reminds me of my best friend from university. And So Young, if you're listening, her name is So Young, by the way, which is kind of a cool name. She reminds me exactly like her. The personality is exactly the same, and she obviously went overseas for work, so I haven't seen her. So it was kind of like for me to kind of get that interaction with my friend. I had to play Persona 5. I know it sounds really bad, but that's the only reason why I went for Oya's like social link. But I do agree with you. She is really useless in this game. Not so much Shihaya though. If you really want to, at least in Royal, like with the Persona alarms and stuff like that, she is very useful if you want to go for that.
I mean, I fuse personas in order to get higher ones, and I guess I can talk about my strategy here when it comes to personas. One other thing is that Royale hasn't done anything to change my opinion on Ryuji. Like,
Really?
I still find him annoying.
For
as
real?
fuck. For real. I think I prefer Yusuke over Ryuji, because like Ryuji is that type of character. Like, okay, like the social link is very like heartwarming and stuff, and like Ryuji is a dude that really cared for his mom after his as his deadbeat dad left them and whatnot. So, but Ryuji is that type of person, like story-wise, that is just begging for attention and always could be like the source of. So, say for instance, if it leaked that this girl were the Phantom Thieves, I would say, Ryuji, who did you spoke with?
He actually said that before out loud in the sushi bar. He was like, "Oh, we're the Phantom." He's actually said it.
No, I did got to that part. I think it was the celebration for Makoto joining the party, in which he just blurted it out, and he continues to blur it out, and I'm like, Ryuji, shut the fuck up!
And I also want to mention that he's the reason why Morgana left the party during the Okumura fight, like right before.
And who do we have to thank for that? Ryuji.
You know what? It's a good point, because at the same time, Tyson, I find that whole arc very like shit. I don't want to get into it as much, but I kind of find Morgana annoying for that same reason as the reason that you find Ryuji annoying. Like, Morgana's very needy. Morgana needs to know that people love him and that, you know, he's the number one, and he always has to be number one, most important. That's why I don't like Morgana, but I see where you're coming from for Ryuji. Sometimes I feel that Ryuji in himself is basically, they tried to remake Yosuke and put him into Persona 5, because he's kind of Yosuke-esque, right? That's how I feel. Like, he's just like a shitty, like, imagine doing a Persona fusion and it fucks up. That's Ryuji.
So right now I need to look up something, but I'll let Sam go ahead, because I need to confirm my.
If we're going on to people we don't like in terms of confidence, the one person that I really didn't like as well, which is, I'm probably echoing everybody else, was Oya. I just to me, especially playing 5, I think she was 1 star for me. I met her once, like, they had the whole thing with the story, and then that was it. Like, I just didn't find her interesting. Just was not for me. Like, so I'm echoing, I guess, what Tyson was saying as well. Yeah, I mean, just she's not offering much here, you know. It's not really interesting for me. But if we're talking about people we didn't like, there's a few that I didn't, and one that made a redemption. So I'll talk about the redemption one. One who I didn't like. I mean, this is the first time I was playing the game. So when I was playing Persona 5, the first person I didn't like was Yusuke, but it ended up completely U-turning. So my first time playing it, I thought he was very strange, very, very strange. Didn't like him, but then his humor was perfect. Like, it was just brilliant, and I love Yusuke. He's brilliant. The person who I didn't like most was Futaba. I could not. No, hang on. Like I could not get along with that. Like now it's double standards for me to say yes. My first romance was Kawakami, and there's that whole thing. But I would rather the age be up than down. But I found her annoying. I didn't like how much she doesn't impact the game as much, in my opinion. And I just found that she was more of she just grated on everybody, as opposed to being, the support was so RNG based as well when she would kick in, and I really feel like they could have done more with her, and you can't see her because I know that's part of her character. But I got her story. I found it was very emotional for me. A lot of connections there, but I just didn't like her. And now I'm playing Royale. Down there as well is Akechi. Like, I do not like Akechi either.
Like I can accept Akechi, but Futaba, Sam.
So Akechi, I just found him really pompous and stuck up. I was just like, oh, really? And then I agree. I think it's cool. Like his you can actually do stuff outside of his, you can actually do a confident thing, and you go to all those places, which I won't say. But I just couldn't get along with Futaba, and it just, I don't know, maybe my opinion will change in Royale. Maybe there's extra bits.
I mean, there's certain things within Royale that she has additional features in dungeons. Like, she'll actually do all-out attacks and stuff, which is pretty cool.
She just didn't make an impact for me. It was just like, I don't know, it's just like being served beer with like a really heavy head. It's just pointless. Just tip it away.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Man.
I get, again, I get her situation. I get her story. She just came across as very, very needy. And I feel like they could have done more with her. That's me.
Okay, I completely agree with you. I mean, I completely agree with Akechi. But, I mean, now it's changed a lot more because the fact that you have the option to hang out with him. I think he's a lot more fleshed out. Yeah, I think that's a good place for an ad break. We're going to come back and talk about our strategies within Persona 5 Royal. Hello, this is just a reminder for you guys to check out our Discord page. If you go to getlifepodcast.com/Discord, join our Discord page, join in on all the discussions that we're going to be having, whether it's in our gaming channel, our anime channel. Go check us out there. Hopefully in the future we'll be doing our giveaways. All podcast giveaways will be done via Discord as well, so make sure you join in on the fun. In addition to that, make sure you follow us on Twitter at GetAlivePodcast. If you like what you see here, follow us on Twitter. We'll be posting new episodes, videos, announcements, things like that on Twitter as well. So be sure to check out our Twitter page if you want to be notified of all those kind of stuff. In addition to that, I want you guys to go and check out great buddy of mine, Sven. If you go to getlifepodcast.com/Sven, that is SVEN. Go and check him out there. It will direct you to his Etsy page. Check out his stuff. He's got awesome laser cut stuff, awesome 3D printed stuff that is based around gaming and anime. So if you're really into gaming and anime, be sure to check out his Etsy page. I know he's probably like, oh, why are you doing this? But you know what? I like Sportsman. I think you guys should do as well. We're not sponsored by him or anything. Just want to give him a shout out. Just go and check him out because he's an awesome dude. Tell him that we sent you as well. Anyway, back onto the episode. We are back. This is the final segment of this episode of the podcast, and I want to talk about specifically strategies within the game because there's certain things that they've changed that you can't necessarily abuse anymore. So, for example, it used to be the case that during flu season you can go in mementos and just fuck up the Reaper in just a couple of hits. Now you can't do that, but there's a lot of different new quality of life changes. Like, for example, technical that was pretty much useless in Persona 5, but now there's more reason to use it because more personas don't have weaknesses to take advantage of. So I wanted to know, when you go into a particular dungeon, what do you do? What is your technique? Is there certain personas that you go for? Is there, do you fuck around with the personas when you like do fusions? Do you do like crazy shit, or do you go for specific skills and stuff like that? That's what I wanted to know. And really I wanted to know from Sam first because he's relatively new to Persona, obviously Persona 5 being his first Persona game. Do you really delve into that a lot more, or do you just like brute force the dungeon?
I mean, for me, it was all about less about the numbers and how much I can get out of a persona, and just more about how much damage they do and how much I can get through. But I mean, there are particular people I take in dungeons for characters, but for personas, no, it was more so like which one is doing the most damage and can have the most impact, and try and build a strategy around that. It was lesser around particular fusions and using the cards to buff them, and I know you can do that, but when I was first playing, I mean, I was confused enough already, so I was like, you know what, give me the most physical and best damage, and we'll just see how much we can go for here.
Okay, so would you say there's a one persona that is like your favorite, like all-time persona, or like in terms of design or in terms of damage dealt and whatnot?
Oh, I think it's later stages of the game. I really enjoyed the angels.
Okay, yeah, the archangels.
Yeah, the archangels is really good, and we have to talk about I'm butchering the name completely, the chariot penis.
Mara.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh, they're not even joking around here. They're just like, here's a penis.
The thing is, they like to joke about it, because when you first fuse him, he talks about penetration and he goes all out. I think the reason why, and this is something that I really like about the Persona series in general, more so with Persona 5, they explain why the personas are like, when you go in there, obviously Mara, from what I remember, he's like this whole like god of temptation or whatever in like Buddhist law, and his daughters tried to seduce Buddha. Like that was his goal. So I understand that might be why he's a penis in this game. But that's been there since, I think, probably like the first game, like massive penis monster. Like I completely get it. But I mean, I was shocked when I saw that in Persona 4 and I fused him for the first time. Didn't know what he looked like. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like this game is rated like what, a 16, and there's an uncensored penis in the game.
It's definitely though the archangels I thought were very cool. I just found that when they were getting into that bit near the end of the game, which I won't spoil, I found them very, very cool and interesting as well.
This is what I like also about Persona in general. There's a lot of like religious imagery and a lot of like historical lore and stuff, and you kind of get into it and you're like, oh wow, look, okay. I mean, in the Western world, we kind of recognize these angels a lot because it's ingrained everywhere. I mean, but when you see like a lot of the Buddhist stuff and a lot of like the Shinto stuff, or even now with like Arsene and stuff, I thought that was pretty cool. Like it was like, whoa, I didn't even know who Arsene was, and now I'm like into that. For me, I would say like my favorite persona, and it's broken really, is the DLC persona. So the persona that you get from Persona 3 and Persona 4, like the basically like Messiah, which is basically Jesus. Like he's basically Jesus. And Messiah and like Orpheus, Thanatos, and all of these persona, I don't think that we should have been given the opportunity to have them, because they're just too overpowered. Like
I know when I first saw when they were there and you could get them, I was like, oh my god, really? And your first day of the palace becomes you do everything pretty much on the same day.
That's it.
It
ruins the game for me, but I think it's useful now, because at the beginning, that's the first thing I did, because at least with Royal, when I downloaded that pack, I was like, you know what, me and Messiah, we're gonna fuck up Kamoshida in one hit. I was playing on Merciless, because that's the mode I'm playing on now. I finished the battle in a couple of rounds. I was like, what the fuck? So for me, it kind of ruined the game a little bit. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to use these persona until my character's level is nearer to that. So I kind of set that upon myself because I didn't want to ruin it. Yes, I do use them once in a while to basically, I'm not sure if it's the hanging or the electric chair, where you basically level up lower leveled personas using the higher ones as a sacrifice. So I do that constantly with Arsene because I really want to level up Arsene. I really like him a lot. So I do that a lot with him. I also take advantage of the jail, when you like lock him up, because in this game it's a lot more useful with the introduction of incense and stuff, and leveling up specific personas' stats and also like weaknesses, because that's a big thing in the later game. You will find that you'll get targeted with weaknesses a lot.
For me, like I found that the DLC personas that you get was actually quite handy because it allowed me to go through things I already know that's going to happen. I could go through these bits, and yes, if there's extra bits, and great, but I could get to that content quicker, if that makes sense, because I sort of get where we're going here with how the story goes. But having them there to be like, oh, you know what, I can actually just do God's hand and just end everything. It was quite handy for me because, it's like an extra little bit of help if you wanted it.
Like, I completely get that. I mean, like, for this game, what pissed me off the most about using those DLC personas is just the fact that you're very limited on your fusion recipes. And someone like me, I love going in and just fusing random personas just to get the ones that I want, just to fill up the compendium, because I'm very persona based. Because even when it was Persona 4, there was a heavy emphasis on fusion, and in this game there is, but I just want to make sure that I have the right thing. I don't want to feel underleveled for a fight, because I just did Okumura's Palace and I was struggling. Like, I'm doing it on Merciless, so yes, it is going to be more difficult, but I fucking hated that palace because it's the worst palace, because it's staged in certain ways that the boss fight is basically very repetitive. It's like you go through one set, and if you don't complete them, they will self-destruct and then they will respawn again, and you have a 30-minute timer. This is like it's unique in that sense because that's the only palace that has that, but still, it was so annoying. So for me, in previous games, like, I didn't really care about that because my personas were all buffed up, but going into this game and the saves don't transfer over, I felt very weak and I felt very, like, vulnerable, if that makes sense. I didn't have those personas to make me feel like a god, because restarting this game, I felt like, shit, I have nothing. I really need to focus on building a proper team. And I've been watching like YouTube videos, and there's a lot of great YouTubers out there. Like, there's this one guy called Rosalind, and he talks about the different strategies that you can use and like different persona builds. Like, I saw this one build for Sataniel, which is, I'm not going to spoil when you get him, but it's towards the end of the game. And basically the guy's built him so he has one attack, which is insane because I wouldn't imagine why would you need that, but it was like an almighty move, and obviously those moves really tend to cover everything. But doing that kind of stuff, and I'm relying more on like stat buffs and like defense compared to when I was playing Persona 5, because I didn't really think about it. I was just brute forcing, going through everything. But now it's more strategic in Royal.
Now I would say for sure, knowing the weaknesses and whatever, with going into Royale, it's easy to be like, oh, I remember this Persona. I know what would be good here.
You know, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I would say don't rely on what you know from Persona 5.
I know, yes, I've learnt that.
There's some fusion recipes that I remember, like, oh, if you fuse this and this, you get this. Fusion recipes have changed, weaknesses have changed, the arcanas have changed as well. So thinking about what personas you're going to use, and you might think, oh, that persona is weak to electricity, and then they change it completely, and then now it's weak to ice or fire or something. You wouldn't necessarily know, and the game doesn't really tell you that there's changes. So it's something that you don't need to rely on. And I think that kind of makes the game a lot fresher, in the sense that I'm not going into this game thinking, like I said, I'm very vulnerable with this game now. Like, I don't feel like I'm OP and like I'm a god like in Persona 4 or like in Persona 3. I feel like I'm a weak high school student that's struggling, and I have to fucking work night shifts so I can pay these twins to fuse fucking personas. I feel the struggle in this game a lot more than Persona 5 OG. Tyson, I really wanted to know about your relationship with personas. What are your favorite personas? Which ones do you tend to bring into palaces?
So, as far as having a favorite persona, that one's easy because I don't have one.
Oh, okay.
My strategy more to how to handle this is I try to have Joker be malleable. Like, I can cover most bases, even those that are very specific. I always find myself, at least that's how I felt in Persona 5, like there was always this missing gap between having a persona that could do bless attacks and one that could do curse attacks, and doing my best to have that not be the case, especially so there's at least 4 spots that I'm looking to fill immediate. So I want to have a persona that can do nuclear attack. So that's Makoto's strength. I want to have a persona that can do psychic attacks. That's Haru. And then bless and curse, which is not the particular strength of any character, but usually I tend to keep around a persona that can do thunder attacks, that can do wind attacks and fire attacks. But essentially, if I don't take Ryuji or Morgana with me, I want to have their bases covered. Now, Morgana is my healer, so I try to keep him around as much as possible, but the other 2 teammates are negotiable.
See, I find that very interesting, because you mentioned that Morgana is your healer, and for me, I either have no healer, so I rely on Joker as the healing. I'll just bring in a persona that's specifically built for healing, or I use Makoto. That's my main healer. I feel that I don't necessarily need to use Morgana as much, mainly because in this game, with the Showtime attacks, they can jump in at any time. You only need one member of the party to do a Showtime. Like, for example, if it's Morgana and Ann, I don't need to have both of them. I can only have one and still do that attack. But with Morgana specifically, because wind attacks, fire attacks, and lightning attacks, you come across them very quickly through fusion, and obviously because they're the first kind of teammates that you get in the early dungeons, you see those personas a lot. I'll be honest with you, I really don't bring in Morgana. I don't bring in Ryuji, but I'll always have Ann. And the reason why why I have An specifically is because she can, in this game, she has this thing called sexy technique, where basically she like entices the shadows in the game, and that kind of, if they were going to do like a big attack, let's say they were charging up for a big attack, she basically gets them to forget their attack, which is a great like passive thing. So I always keep her on. Makoto, for the most part, I have her as a healer, and then Haru, it's either Haru or Yusuke, depending on how I'm feeling. That's why I mentioned before that I really have more respect for them in these games, but I mean in the later game it's more so Haru. I rely on her a lot, especially with her rocket launcher. She doesn't have much ammo, but because you get ammo each new fight, she's just very useful. And I kind of feel upset that I kind of shat on her when we spoke about Persona 5 many years ago. So yeah, I think it's that's how I kind of build my team. But you do have a good point. I just really wanted to know why specifically Morgana as your healer as opposed to Makoto, because you already have Makoto in there. Like, I just wanted to know.
So I just want to point out that Makoto, for the most part, is my backup healer in the events in which I bring her on. So right now, what I'm doing, so I am currently on Okumura's palace, and my strategy so far has been, okay, so I have a fire persona that I'm looking to change because it can only do weak fire attacks, which potentially those that do higher, and more importantly that I can impact multiple foes with that attack. I still haven't found either a persona or a fusion that allows me to do that. I did found this starfish shaped persona that is, but my concern here is that for now a majority of the enemies that I have are not focused on physical attacks, and this persona is weak to physical attacks. So that's a burden on my side.
I've noticed that you mentioned about the physical attacks and stuff like that, but you don't put them in jail for a bit, because then they can get null physical or drain physical or whatnot. Like, do you not take advantage of the stuff that's given to you within the Velvet Room?
So you mean like power-ups? Is that what you mean?
I think so. You know, when you put them in jail and then for a couple of days they're basically in jail and you have the ability to lose them forever if you don't come up and release them. It's not a new feature. It was there before, but it's kind of buffed up a little bit with the incense and stuff. You should already have it, but it basically takes away it nullifies your weaknesses the longer that it stays in there.
So it's probably an option of advancing the twins social link, and I haven't made too much progress on that to be honest. So it seems that after I'm done with Maruki, I should probably focus on the twins then.
Yeah, I think so. And the lovely thing about focusing on the twins is that if you do a new game plus, if the persona are still in the compendium, you can basically just pay pay the price to bring those persona out, and then you can level up from 1 to 10 instantly within the same day, which is just amazing.
Okay, I'll definitely look into that. So back to my point. So I have that situation. I have a persona that can only do weak fire attacks. The one that I'm potentially looking as a replacement is weak to physical attacks. I haven't unlocked the jail yet, so that's not an option for me. I'm seeing a majority of personas that I've obtained through Okumura's Palace as fusion fodder, and when I'm looking for fusions, I'm looking for personas that can fill a gap in the base attacks that I want a persona to have. And for instance, like for the enemies that are like have this little red outlier or that I know that are strong, I'm either looking to cast the spell to lower down their defenses, or I'm going for technical attacks. Makoto is really good at these, especially by casting Forget, and I usually have another in my roster that can do a physical attack. Like there's this one persona that's an elephant in Okumura's.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The guy with the swords.
Yeah, so it was like hilarious to me that I could just get Makoto to cast Forget, and then he just knocks his belly and said he forgot the skills, and I'm laughing here like, oh, this is what you get. If I recall correctly, the way that I can do a technical attack is by casting Wind, and usually after after Makoto, it was Morgana's turn. So I was always down in him pulling out the all out attack card. So those battles were easy.
With the technicals, it's so advanced in this game because, for example, if you did deal fire damage, so let's say you have a persona that can deal fire and then follow up with wind, it's going to result in technical. Or in the case of Makoto, when you cast confuse or forget and you follow up with like in some cases it can be like a gun attack or a physical attack, it will cause a technical. And then there's some way that you can do it with nuclear and psychokinetic attacks as well. But if you go to the billiards and you play pool or whatever, you can actually level up the amount of like the skills that can lead to technical attacks. And there's a secret level 4 for the technical attack rank, which you can get, but only it's really complicated. You basically have to read certain books and then you have to do certain things in the billiards to get that. I've done that, and to be honest with you, technical attacks are like the bread and butter of this game. If you know how to do them, you can fly through this game very easily. Sam, I just wanted to know, mainly because before when you mentioned that you were playing Persona 5, it was mainly more so just experiencing the story as opposed to just, you mentioned it's all kind of confusing for you at the start. So in Royal, do you find that you're delving more into, more complex fusions or strategies and thinking about how am I going to tackle this dungeon and this and that? I really wanted to know what you kind of do for that.
So generally it's going to be the regular guillotine, so just gonna be 2 personas. In my experience, while trying to do the triple guillotine, rarely get the result that I want. Like, again, I'm going at this with a mindset that I want to get particular attacks out of my personas. So in the event that I don't have one teammate, I can cover that gap.
One thing that I wanted to know, because there's like, and you know what, Tyson, I don't want to judge you and I don't want to shame you on your strategy, but there's a lot of things that I think you can easily fix. Like, for example, skill cards. If there's a particular persona that you feel that, okay, they've got a really good skill, you could just sacrifice them, get the skill card, go to Yusuke and then duplicate the card, so then you always have that card in your repertoire. You know what I mean? That kind of makes sense to me.
So you know what? I never use the skill card duplication from Yusuke, and I have it since I progressed that far into his social link that this is an option for me to do. But I've never gone to him to get a skill card made, nor I have put any additional time into developing his social link, which could be an error of me, of course. But yeah,
when I found out about the whole skill card duplication, because I'm obviously playing Persona 2, there is another person in the Velvet Room. I don't know if many people know this, but there's another person within the Velvet Room who's kind of modeled after the guy that made Persona 2, like the main director of the game. He was a human that is stuck in the Velvet Room. He can only be released from the Velvet Room if he has the ability to draw a human being, which is so weird. It doesn't make any sense. But basically his job was to paint Persona cards and basically duplicate cards in the same way that Yusuke does. So it's pretty cool, man. Finally, I just want to end with Sam. Like, Sam, what is your strategy in terms of dungeons or like fusions and stuff?
I mean, for characters I bring along, I always find that when I was playing Persona 5, Yusuke was always very good for severe physical damages and attacks, I found. Ryuji I found was also very useful for pure physical and just a good party buff. Morgana as well, like Morgana was my healer, so I used Morgana for my healer as well, and I just found that his group healing and stuff was just very, very good, and obviously him having the wind as well to do the damage was good. For Personas, as I say, there was not much strategy involved. It was very much like a caveman attitude. It was like, right, me smash, like me just do damage. Let me try and kill things and see if I can like beat the boss by having the highest numbers. I mean, first I would obviously figure out the weaknesses and whatever, and then adjust the personas accordingly, but it was just making sure that I had the highest number possible. But obviously you find out soon enough that it's not always the case, and you need very specific ones to help you stay alive.
Especially when you have a persona that has a high physical attack, and then you go in and then you realize your opponent has a reflection.
Exactly, yes. That's happened to me too many times in Persona 5. Yeah. Don't want to embarrass myself
it's
there.
It's a bit of a crux. I mean, I get that sometimes, to be honest with you. And the only reason that I wanted to talk about strategy is just because it's so important within Persona 5 Royal. And I think we could go on and talk about this game for years. Literally, this conversation can never end. And so I think it's a good place to end it here, because we don't have enough time to talk about everything in the game. But I do encourage you guys listening, if you really want us to do more Persona episodes, I'm going to try and do it. Maybe not with these guys, because they might be like, oh, fuck, I don't want to be in another 5-hour recording or whatever. But if you guys want them to return, please tell me via Twitter at Get Alive Podcast. In addition to that, go and join our Discord, because you know what? It's pretty empty at the moment. It's pretty dead. We want to encourage more conversation about these games, especially if we're doing weekly episodes. So we kind of want you guys to get involved a little bit more. And I just want to thank Sam. It's the first time Sam has been on this podcast. Hopefully many more times after this. And Tyson, who everyone knows him, everyone loves him. Not everyone loves him, some people hate him. But, you know, we've got Tyson. Thank you very much, Tyson, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, so if you want some silly videos that I voice or some articles, you can go to earlygame.com and you'll find a lot of written journalism there from me. Alternatively, you can find me on Twitter as well, which is SambattyVA.
As for where I can be found, I'm at Twitter at Chemical Sora. That's ChemicalSora. You can also find my portfolio of work at chemicalsora.me. And I also have a YouTube channel, but I'm not really active on there, so you can get there from my portfolio site.
I forgot to make the joke where I basically say my Twitter page is yours. It wasn't meant to be this time, I guess. Big thanks to our sponsors, Japan Crate, Crunchyroll, and JList. JList is a new sponsor of the podcast, so go and check them out. When you support them, you support us directly, well, indirectly. So check them out. In addition to that, big thanks to Atlas and Deep Silver for obviously providing us review codes for Persona 5 Royal and obviously the original Persona 5. So see you guys. Bye.
Enjoy Persona. Make sure you touch the controller. Do it. Stroke your controller.
Stay sexy.